Admiral Vexorin had conquered 63 worlds in 420 years. Earth would be his 64th. Or so he thought. The stars had never looked so cold. Vaxrin stood at the viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Behind him stretched 340 warships. Each vessel gleamed with dark purple hull plating that marked Krillian military might. Weapon ports bristled along their flanks like the quills of some ancient predator. His 6 yellow eyes scanned the tactical display with practiced ease. Purple-black skin stretched tight over his angular frame. 7 feet tall, muscular, decorated with scars from 2 centuries of conquest. The left side of his face bore a jagged mark from the Battle of Carthion. He had never lost. The bridge crew moved with silent efficiency around him. Young officers checked readouts. Veterans monitored weapon systems. No one spoke unless necessary. Discipline had been drilled into them over decades of service. Commander Drextar approached from the tactical station. 380 years old, broader than Vaxrin, 4 eyes instead of 6, a genetic variation among their species. His footsteps echoed on the metal deck plating. "Admiral," Drextar said, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "All ships report ready. Weapons at full power. Shields charged. We await your command." Vaxorin turned from the viewport. His eyes reflected the cold light of distant stars. "Today, the primitives learn their place," he said quietly. "Today, the Krillian Empire adds another world to our domain." Drextar nodded once. Sharp. Military precise. "Emperor Zorathar sends his regards." Drextar continued. "He expects swift victory, minimal casualties, maximum intimidation." Vaxrin allowed himself a thin smile. His fangs showed briefly, white against dark lips. "The humans have been in space for barely 3 centuries," he replied. "We have ruled the galaxy for 12 millennia. This will not be a battle. It will be a lesson." The Galactic Council chambers on the neutral station, Meridian Prime, Sumo. The Great Hall curved upward like the inside of a vast sphere. Holographic displays floated in the air. Representatives from 47 different species occupied their designated sections. The air recyclers hummed constantly. The smell of 100 different atmospheres mixed together. Ozone, methane, sulfur, oxygen-rich. Each species breathing what they needed through localized environmental shields. Councillor Varath stood at the central podium. An Altari, blue-gray skin, humanoid in basic structure. Slender, 5 feet tall, 2 eyes, normal hands. His people were explorers, scientists, diplomats. They had never fired a shot in anger in their entire recorded history. Varath looked terrified. His hands trembled as he activated the holographic display above the podium. Images flickered into existence. A blue-green world rotating slowly. Earth. Continents visible through wispy clouds. Oceans reflecting sunlight. 2 small moons, natural satellites in stable orbits. "Honored representatives," Varath began. His voice carried clearly through the translation matrix. "I come before you with urgent news. 6 months ago, my research fleet made first contact with a species on the outer rim. They call themselves humans. Their home world is this planet, Earth." A murmur ran through the assembly. New species were always noteworthy. The galaxy was vast. Intelligent life remained rare despite 12,000 years of exploration. Varath continued. His voice grew more strained. "We approached with standard peaceful protocols. They welcomed us. Their leader, President Elena Torres, invited us to learn about their culture. We spent 4 months with them." The holographic display changed. Now it showed human cities, tall structures of metal and glass, vehicles moving along paved surfaces, millions of lights twinkling in darkness. Technology, civilization, nothing unusual so far. "They have achieved basic faster-than-light travel," Varath explained. "They have small colonies on their moon and the nearest planets. By all appearances, they seem like any other developing species." Varath paused. He looked around the chamber. His eyes settled on the Krillian section. Emperor Zorathar sat there. 750 years old, 8 feet tall, massive. His black skin gleamed under the chamber lights. 4 red eyes burned like coals. "Then we discovered something," Varath said. His voice dropped almost to a whisper. "Something that changed everything we thought we knew." He activated a new section of the display. Historical images from Earth, ancient battles, medieval warfare, modern conflicts. The progression of human military technology across 5,000 years. Bronze swords, iron shields, gunpowder cannons, chemical explosives, nuclear weapons. "They have been at war," Varath said slowly, "for their entire recorded history. 5,000 years without a single decade of complete global peace. The chamber fell silent. Even the air recyclers seemed quieter. Vareth's hands shook harder now. We asked their military leaders a hypothetical question. What would happen if someone attacked Earth? Do you know what they said? The display changed again. It showed a recording, human military officers seated around a conference table. Most appeared to be in their 40s or 50s. Gray hair, weathered faces, eyes that had seen too much. The oldest looked to be in his 60s. White hair, lined face, calm expression. The question came from off-screen. Vareth's voice translated into English. If a hostile force attacked your world, how would you respond? The older officer spoke. His voice was quiet, professional, matter of fact. We would not just defend ourselves. We would hunt down every ship, every base, every world that belonged to our attackers. We would dismantle their entire civilization piece by piece until nothing remained but ashes and regret. Then he smiled. Small, cold, final. The recording ended. Vareth turned back to the council. Sweat glistened on his blue-gray skin. They smiled, he said. They spoke of total annihilation with the calm professionalism of someone discussing crop yields. This is not bluster. These beings have turned warfare into a science. They study it, perfect it, live it. Emperor Zorathar rose from his seat. The chamber's attention shifted immediately. When the Krillian emperor stood, everyone listened. His voice boomed across the hall. Counselor Varath, Zorathar said, each word precise, clipped. Your people see danger in shadows. You mistake primitive bravado for genuine threat. The Krillian Empire has conquered 63 worlds. We have defeated civilizations with technology thousands of years ahead of these humans. What can one primitive species possibly do? Laughter erupted from the Krillian section. Officers and advisors found the idea amusing. The sound echoed through the chamber. Harsh, mocking. Vareth stood his ground. His voice gained strength born of desperation. With respect, Emperor, you do not understand. It is not their weapons that make them dangerous. It is their minds. They think about war differently than any species we have encountered. They have schools dedicated entirely to studying combat. They analyze every battle they have ever fought. They write books about strategy that are thousands of years old and still studied today. Zorathar waved a massive hand dismissively. We study war as well, Counselor. Every military force does. No, Vareth said firmly. You study war to win battles. They study war to achieve perfection in destruction. There is a difference. A younger voice spoke up from the Krillian section. Lieutenant Saris, 40 years old, young by Krillian standards. Female. Purple skin lighter than the male's. 4 eyes of deep violet. She stood hesitantly. Emperor Saris said carefully, if I may, Counselor Vareth raises valid concerns. We sent 17 reconnaissance probes into human space over the past month. Only 3 returned. The data we recovered was fragmented, corrupted. We do not actually know their full military capabilities. Zorathar's 4 eyes fixed on Saris. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Lieutenant, the Emperor said quietly, dangerously quiet. Are you suggesting the Krillian Empire should fear the unknown capabilities of a species that has barely left its own star system? Saris lowered her eyes immediately. No, Emperor. I merely suggest caution. Caution is for the weak, Zorathar declared. He turned back to address the full council. The humans will learn what every other species has learned. There is an order to this galaxy. The strong rule. The weak serve. If they cannot accept their place peacefully, they will learn it through conquest. Vareth tried once more. Emperor Zorathar, I beg you to reconsider. Send diplomats. Establish peaceful relations. Do not provoke them to enough. Zorathar cut him off. This council has no authority over Krillian military operations. The humans occupy no protected worlds. They have no treaties or alliances. They are free territory, and the Krillian Empire claims what it wishes. With that, Emperor Zorathar strode from the chamber. His entourage followed. Advisors, generals, officers, all moving with military precision. Their footsteps echoed like drums. Vareth slumped at the podium. Defeated. He had tried. He had warned them, and he had been ignored. In the Krillian section, Lieutenant Saris remained seated. She pulled up the fragmentary data from the 3 probes that had returned. Strange energy signatures, unusual gravitational readings, technology that did not match known patterns. Something was wrong. Something they did not understand, but no one would listen to a junior officer. Not when the Emperor had already decided. the strategic command center deep within the Imperial Palace. The room was carved from black volcanic stone. Red crystalline lights cast sharp shadows. Around a circular table sat the Empire's most powerful military leaders. Emperor Zorathar dominated the space. His massive frame filled the throne-like chair at the table's head. Scars covered his black skin, each one a story, each one a victory. His four red eyes burned with ambition that had never cooled. Admiral Vaxorin stood at attention beside the holographic star map. His six yellow eyes studied the projected route to human space. Commander Drexthar occupied the tactical analysis station. His four eyes scanned troop deployment projections. Numbers, logistics, supply lines, all optimal. Lieutenant Saris sat at the intelligence station, the youngest in the room. Her violet eyes kept returning to the corrupted data streams. Something bothered her, something she could not quite identify. High Counselor Karathos stood in the shadows at the back of the room, 920 years old, the oldest living Krillian. His skin had faded from black to ash gray. His four eyes had grown dim with age, but his mind remained sharp. He had advised 5 emperors, seen empires rise and fall. "Report," Zorathar commanded. His voice filled the chamber like thunder. Vaxorin activated the tactical display. The hologram expanded. The Sol system appeared in miniature above the table. Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, gas giants beyond, all rendered in precise detail from long-range scans. "The human home system sits isolated on the outer rim," Vaxorin explained. His voice carried professional confidence. "Intelligence shows minimal military infrastructure. A few orbital platforms around Earth itself, small research stations on their moon and Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt. Their largest vessels appear to be cargo transports, not warships." Drexthar pulled up additional data. "Their technology is approximately 200 years behind ours," he added. "They use chemical propulsion for most spaceflight. Their weapon systems appear to be projectile-based. No plasma technology, no particle beams. They do not even have proper shield generators." Zorathar leaned forward, his massive hands pressed against the table's edge. "Defenses. Minimal," Vaxorin replied immediately. "A few weapon satellites in Earth orbit, nothing that could threaten a proper invasion fleet. Their military appears to be primarily ground-based, naval forces limited to system defense. Population approximately 8 billion on their homeworld, another 2 million scattered among their colonies. Adequate for labor requirements post-conquest." Zorathar smiled. His fangs gleamed in the red light. "Admiral Vaxorin," the Emperor said, "how long to conquer this system?" Vaxorin did not hesitate. "With a standard conquest fleet, Emperor, 2 weeks, perhaps 3 if they attempt guerrilla tactics among the asteroids. But they have nowhere to run, no allies to summon. And what size fleet would you require? 340 ships would be more than sufficient. Capital ships for orbital bombardment, cruisers for fleet actions, destroyers for patrol, troop transports for ground occupation. Standard conquest formation." Zorathar nodded slowly. "The Altari spoke of human history," he said. His tone suggested this was a test. "Their wars, their weapons. What say you to Counselor Vareth's warnings?" Vaxorin's expression remained professional, controlled. "Every species fights before achieving civilization, Emperor. Conflict is how the weak are winnowed from the strong. The natural order, humans fought with primitive weapons on a single world. We have conquered 63 worlds with weapons they cannot comprehend. There is no comparison." From the shadows, High Counselor Karathos spoke. His voice was like wind through dead leaves, ancient, weary. "And yet," the old Krillian said quietly, 17 probes entered their space. Only 3 returned. Does this not give you pause?" The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Karathos. The ancient counselor stepped forward into the red light. His gray skin looked almost translucent. His movements were slow, careful, bones that had seen 9 centuries of use. "Perhaps," Karathos continued, "we should investigate why our reconnaissance failed before committing to full invasion." Lieutenant Sarah straightened at her station. Finally, someone else saw the problem, but Zorathar's eyes narrowed. "High Counselor," the Emperor said. His tone carried warning. "Are you suggesting the Krillian Empire should fear the loss of a few drones?" Karathos met Zorathar's gaze without flinching. 920 years had taught him how to stand before emperors. "I suggest that arrogance has destroyed more empires than any enemy ever could," the Ancient One replied. "Caution is not weakness. It is wisdom." Zorathar's hands clenched into fists. The black skin stretched tight over massive knuckles. The Krillian Empire was built on strength, not caution, he growled. We do not cower before unknowns. We crush them. He turned back to Vaxorin. Assemble the fleet. 340 ships. You will depart in 3 days. Target the human colony designated Titan Station. Make an example. Show them what happens when primitives occupy territory the Empire desires. Vaxorin saluted, fist to chest, sharp, precise. It shall be done, Emperor. As the War Council dispersed, Lieutenant Saris remained at her station. She pulled up the fragmentary data one more time. The corrupted files, the strange readings. 14 probes had simply vanished. No debris, no signals, just gone. 3 had returned damaged. Their databanks scrambled as if subjected to electromagnetic pulses far beyond anything humans should possess. She wanted to say something, to voice her concerns, but Vaxorin was already leaving. Drextar was already planning troop deployments. The decision had been made. High Counselor Karathos paused beside her station. He placed one ancient hand on her shoulder. You see it too, he said softly. Not a question, a statement. Saris nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. I have lived 920 years, Karathos continued, his voice barely above a whisper. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched arrogance destroy civilizations that thought themselves invincible. And I have learned one truth above all others. He leaned closer, his dim eyes fixed on hers. The most dangerous enemies are not the ones who appear strong. They are the ones who appear weak until it is too late to matter. Then he was gone, moving slowly toward the exit, leaving Saris alone with the corrupted data and the growing certainty that they were making a terrible mistake. The Krillian war fleet assembled in high orbit above their homeworld. 340 vessels, the largest military force the Empire had deployed in 5 years. Massive capital ships 2 kilometers long, cruisers bristling with plasma cannons, destroyers built for speed and firepower, troop transports carrying 50,000 soldiers, supply ships, medical vessels, communication relays, everything needed for total conquest. Admiral Vaxorin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his flagship, the pride of the Krillian Navy, 3 kilometers of armored hull, weapons powerful enough to crack planetary crusts, shields that could withstand sustained bombardment from an entire fleet. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in disciplined silence. 200 officers and enlisted personnel. Every station manned, every system at peak efficiency. These were veterans, soldiers who had seen combat across a dozen worlds. They knew their jobs. They did not need supervision. Commander Drextar approached from the tactical station. All ships report ready, Admiral. The Emperor sends his final orders. Destroy the human colony. Take prisoners for interrogation. Make it clear that resistance is futile. Vaxorin nodded once. His 6 yellow eyes reflected the view screen's glow. Helm, he called. Set course for the Sol system. Maximum hyperspace velocity. All ships to follow in formation Delta. Course laid in Admiral, the helmsman responded. Young, competent, 3 eyes instead of the usual 4. Genetic variation. Ready on your command. Vaxorin looked out at his fleet. 340 ships. The culmination of millennia of military evolution. Nothing could stand against this force. Nothing in the known galaxy. Engage, he ordered. Space twisted. Reality bent. The Krillian fleet vanished in flashes of blue-white light. They jumped to hyperspace. Destination, the Sol system. Estimated travel time 4 days. Behind them on the planet's surface, High Counselor Karathos stood at his window overlooking the capital city. He watched the last flickers of hyperspace energy fade. His ancient eyes were sad. May the ancestors forgive us, he whispered to the empty room. We go to war with an enemy we do not understand. On the edge of known space, Counselor Varath sat in his personal quarters aboard his research vessel. He had immediately departed the Galactic Council session, racing to warn the humans, to give them time to evacuate, to prepare. But Krillian jamming technology blocked all long-range communications to the Sol system. He could not get a message through. The humans would face the invasion with no warning, no time to flee. Varath prayed to gods he did not believe in, prayed that he was wrong, that the humans were just another developing species, that the Krillian Empire would achieve another easy victory. But he remembered the smile on the human general's face, the cold professional certainty in those weathered eyes, the calm matter-of-fact tone describing total annihilation. We will reduce their empire to ashes and regret. Not a threat, a promise. The Krillian fleet traveled through hyperspace, crossing hundreds of light years in subjective hours. The journey was uneventful. Routine. Officers rotated through shifts. Soldiers drilled for ground combat. Engineers maintained systems. Everything proceeded according to plan. Lieutenant Sarah spent most of the journey at her intelligence station, running simulations, analyzing the fragmentary data over and over, searching for something, anything. Some clue to explain what had happened to those 14 missing probes. She found nothing concrete, just anomalies, impossible readings, energy signatures that should not exist, gravitational fluctuations with no source, technology that defied known physics. On the third day, she requested a private meeting with Admiral Vaxorin. She stood at attention in his ready room. The Admiral sat behind his desk. 6 yellow eyes regarded her without expression. Admiral, Saris began carefully, I have concerns about the reconnaissance data, or rather, the lack of it. We know almost nothing about human military capabilities. The probe losses suggest... Lieutenant Vaxorin interrupted. His voice was not harsh, simply final. Your concerns have been noted and dismissed. The Emperor has given his orders. We will execute them. Is that understood? Saris kept her eyes forward. Military discipline locked her spine straight. Yes, Admiral. Dismissed. She saluted and left. Back to her station. Back to the corrupted data. Back to the growing certainty that they were sailing into a trap they could not see. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Stars blazed in the view screen. The local sun burned yellow-white in the distance. Planets stretched out in their orbits. Gas giants far out. Rocky inner worlds closer in. And there, third from the sun, a blue-green jewel, Earth. All ships have successfully transitioned, the navigation officer reported. No casualties, no malfunctions. Fleet integrity at 100%. Admiral Vaxorin stood from his command chair. He walked to the view screen, studied the human system with the practiced eye of someone who had conquered 63 other worlds. Tactical, he ordered. Full scan. I want positions of every human vessel, every station, every defensive installation. The tactical officer's hands moved across his console. Holographic displays updated in real time. Data streamed in from 340 sensor arrays. Admiral, the officer reported. His voice carried surprise. Detecting minimal activity. Several small orbital stations around the third planet. A few dozen vessels moving between the inner planets. No major defensive installations. No fleet formations. Nothing that would suggest they are prepared for our arrival. Vaxorin allowed himself a small smile. They have no idea we are here. Commander Drextar joined him at the view screen. The big warriors studied the tactical displays. Their largest concentration is at coordinates designated Titan Station, Drextar said. A mining colony in the asteroid belt. Approximately 37 vessels docked or in nearby space. All appear to be civilian craft. Cargo haulers, mining ships, one passenger transport. 37 ships, Vaxorin repeated. He turned to look at his fleet. 340 warships, against 37 civilian vessels. The mathematics were not complicated. Set course for Titan Station, Vaxorin commanded. All ships to battle formation, cruisers to the front, capital ships to provide covering fire, destroyers on the flanks. We will arrive with overwhelming force. Give them one chance to surrender. Then we demonstrate Krillian power. The fleet moved, 340 ships forming into attack pattern, weapons charging, shields at maximum, troop transports hanging back but ready, everything by the book. Standard conquest procedure. It took 6 hours to cross from the outer system to the asteroid belt. The Krillian fleet moved at sublight speed, conserving energy, maintaining formation. Professional, efficient. Lieutenant Saris watched the human vessels grow larger on her tactical display. 37 ships, most looked old and battered. Civilian designs hastily modified. She pulled up closer scans. Mining equipment on some, cargo bays on others. One appeared to be a converted passenger liner. Ancient, decades old. Hull patches visible even from a distance. These were not warships. These were workers, miners, families. Her stomach nodded. Admiral, she said quietly, those vessels do not appear to be military. Vaxorin did not turn from the view screen. Then they should surrender quickly, he replied, and lives will be spared. The Krillian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel 10,000 kilometers from Titan Station. 340 warships appearing in perfect formation. A wall of metal and firepower. Lights blazed across purple-black hulls. Weapon ports glowed with charging energy. Shield generators hummed at full power. The display was meant to intimidate, to show the absolute futility of resistance. Vaxrin stood at his command station, hands clasped behind his back, 6 yellow eyes fixed on the view screen. Communications, he ordered. Open a channel to the human vessels. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Channel open, Admiral. Vaxorin's voice carried across the void, translated by automated systems into dozens of languages, English among them. Human vessels. This is Admiral Vaxorin of the Krillian Empire. You are trespassing in territory now claimed by Imperial decree. You will power down your vessels immediately. You will prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your complete annihilation. You have 5 minutes to comply. The message echoed across open space, bouncing off asteroids, reaching every human ship in the vicinity. For 30 seconds, there was no response. Then the communications console beeped. A return transmission. Audio only. Put it through, Vaxorin orders. A voice came through the speakers, male, human, calm. So calm it was almost unnerving. The voice of someone absolutely certain of their position. Admiral Vaxorin, this is Commander Garrick Thorne of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our territory without permission. You have made hostile declarations. You have threatened civilians under our protection. A pause. Brief, calculated. You have exactly 10 minutes to leave our system. After that, we will be forced to defend ourselves. Silence fell across the Krillian bridge. Officers stared at their consoles in disbelief. Commander Drexthar's 4 eyes widened. Vaxorin felt something he had not experienced in 420 years. Genuine surprise. They dare, Drexthar whispered. Vaxorin found his voice. Amusement colored his tone now, mixed with anger, visual on the human who spoke. The view screen shifted. It showed the bridge of one of the human vessels, the converted freighter leading the small fleet. The bridge looked cramped, old equipment, worn consoles, nothing impressive. But the human sitting in the command chair made Vaxorin pause. Commander Garrick Thorne, male, approximately 40 years old by human standards, dark hair going gray at the temples, blue-gray eyes, cold, calculating. A scar ran down his left cheek. Old wound. His uniform was simple, black, functional, military. Most importantly, Thorne's expression showed no fear, no panic, just professional assessment, the look of someone sizing up an opponent. Vaxorin leaned forward, his 6 eyes narrowed. Commander Thorne, he said, each word precise. I command 340 warships. You have 37 civilian vessels. Do you understand basic mathematics? Thorne's expression did not change. He sat perfectly still in his chair, hands resting on the armrests. I understand mathematics perfectly, Admiral, Thorne replied. His voice remained calm, matter of fact. I also understand that you now have 9 minutes and 30 seconds to leave. I suggest you use them wisely. Vaxorin's hands clenched. His claws scraped against metal. You dare threaten the Krillian Empire? Not a threat, Thorne said. His cold eyes stared directly into the camera. A fact. You have 9 minutes. Then he reached forward and cut the communication. The view screen returned to external view. The 37 human vessels hung in space, not fleeing, not scattering, just waiting. Commander Drexthar stepped closer to Vaxorin. He kept his voice low, concerned. Admiral, something is wrong. No primitive species would... Enough, Vaxorin snapped. Humiliation burned in his chest. 4 centuries. Never had anyone spoken to him with such dismissal. Tactical. Lock weapons on the human flagship. One shot from our main plasma cannon. Show them the futility of their position. The tactical officer's hands moved across his console. Main plasma cannon charged and locked, Admiral. Target human flagship. Ready to fire on your command. Vaxorin took a breath. He would vaporize their leader's ship. The others would surrender immediately. This would be over in seconds. Fire. Pure energy lanced across 10,000 kilometers of space. A beam of superheated plasma, capable of melting through any known ship armor, powerful enough to crack asteroids. The Eternal Dominion's main weapon. Pride of Krillian engineering. The beam struck Thorne's vessel directly amidships. Dead center. The ship's hull glowed white-hot for exactly 3 seconds. Heat signatures spiked on Krillian sensors. Energy readings went off the scale. Then nothing. The glow faded. The ship remained intact. not even scorched. The hull looked completely undamaged. Impossible. Tactical Vaxeron's voice was tight, controlled. Report. The tactical officer's hands flew across his console. Rechecking, verifying. His face went pale. Admiral, direct hit confirmed. Energy delivery at maximum. But, but the hull shows zero structural damage. It is as if the energy was absorbed. Vaxeron stared at the view screen, at the human ship floating there, undamaged, mocking. Fire again, he ordered. His voice rose. All forward batteries, maximum power. 7 more plasma beams lanced out. Brilliant blue-white energy. Enough firepower to destroy a small city. All 7 beams struck the human fleet. Different ships, different angles. The results were identical. Energy absorption. No damage. Ships floating serenely in space as if nothing had happened. On the view screen, the human vessels began to move. Not fleeing, they spread out into a formation that Vaxeron did not recognize. No standard military pattern. Almost random, yet somehow coordinated. The communications console beeped again. Vaxeron gestured sharply. The tactical officer opened the channel. Thorne's face appeared on the view screen. Still calm. Admiral, Thorne said quietly, you now have 7 minutes. I strongly suggest you use them to leave. You will not get another warning. Vaxeron's control snapped. 4 centuries of military discipline, of professional calm, gone in an instant. All ships, he roared. Weapons free. Destroy them all. 340 warships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle beams, missile batteries, energy torpedoes, kinetic accelerators. Every weapon system in the Krillian arsenal unleashed at once. Space lit up like a star going nova. Thousands of weapon discharges. Enough firepower to sterilize a planet. The human ships moved. They did not just evade, they danced, weaving between energy beams with impossible precision, as if they knew exactly where each shot would go before it was fired, moving in patterns that should not work, that defied tactical sense. Yet somehow they avoided 90% of the incoming fire. The 10% that hit them simply vanished into the hulls, absorbed, dissipated, no damage at all. Then the humans fired back. It was not energy weapons, not plasma, not particles. Simple chunks of metal, cylinders of refined tungsten carbide, ancient technology, the kind of projectiles civilizations used before they discovered energy weapons. But these projectiles move fast, impossibly fast, 0.09 times the speed of light, 9% of light speed, relativistic velocities. The first projectile crossed 10,000 kilometers in 1/10 of a second. It struck the destroyer relentless. The slug punched through the ship's shields as if they did not exist, passed through the armor like it was paper, exited the other side. The destroyer's reactor went critical. The ship exploded. 1,200 crew. Gone. Then 11 more projectiles arrived. 12 Krillian destroyers. 12 simple metal slugs. 12 direct hits. 3 seconds. Exactly 3 seconds from launch to impact. 12 destroyers ceased to exist. Expanding clouds of superheated gas and debris. 3,240 crew. Dead before they knew they were under attack. The Krillian fleet recoiled. Ships broke formation. Captains screamed orders. Crews scrambled to understand what had just happened. Admiral Vaxeron stood frozen at his command station, his 6 yellow eyes wide, staring at the tactical display where 12 friendly icons had just vanished. How? He whispered. How did they? Lieutenant Saris pulled up impact analysis. Her hands shook as she read the data. Admiral, her voice cracked. Those projectiles, they were moving at 9% light speed. At that velocity, mass becomes irrelevant. They hit with the kinetic energy equivalent of small nuclear weapons. Drexthar turned to stare at her. But that is impossible. Nothing can accelerate mass to those speeds without... They did it. Saris cut him off. She looked up from her console, fear naked on her face. They accelerated simple metal to relativistic velocity. They turned basic physics into a weapon we cannot defend against. On the view screen, the 37 human ships continued their impossible dance, moving in patterns that made no tactical sense yet somehow worked perfectly, as if choreographed by some invisible conductor. Vaxeron found his voice. Years of military training forced calm back into his tone. All ships, concentrated fire, target the human flagship. Every weapon, overwhelming force. Now, 328 remaining warships pivoted. locked weapons, hundreds of plasma cannons, thousands of missile tubes, all aimed at Thorne's converted Freywitter. The firestorm that erupted would have vaporized a moon. Energy and explosives sufficient to crack continental plates, all focused on one small vessel. Space itself seemed to burn. When the light faded, Thorne's ship floated exactly where it had been, undamaged, not even scratched. And then something appeared in the space between the two fleets. Small, spherical, perhaps a meter in diameter. It looked like liquid mercury rotating slowly. Beautiful. Hypnotic. "What is that?" Drextar demanded. "Tactical, identify." The tactical officer's hands moved frantically across his console. "Unknown commander, sensors show massive gravitational distortion. Energy readings they do not make sense. It is as if space itself is..." The sphere pulsed. Every weapon discharged the Krillians had fired. Every plasma bolt, every missile, every energy beam, all of it reversed direction. Not deflected, not scattered, reversed. 180 degrees, an instant change in trajectory, and the strength multiplied. The tactical officer would later estimate a 12-fold increase in energy. The Krillian fleet's own weapons struck them. Their own plasma, their own missiles, their own particle beams, all enhanced, all amplified. Ships exploded, dozens, then hundreds. Capital ships cracked in half. Cruisers disintegrated. Destroyers simply ceased to exist. 4 minutes, 37 seconds. That was how long it took. When it ended, 297 Krillian warships had been destroyed. 43 survived. Most of those were damaged. Hulls breached, weapons offline, shields collapsed. 78,000 crew. Dead. The greatest military disaster in Krillian history. Silence fell across the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. The flagship had survived. Barely. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Life support failing in multiple sections. Weapons systems offline. Shields at 11%. Admiral Vaxorin stood at his command station, staring at the tactical display, at the icons representing 43 remaining ships, at the clouds of debris that had been 297 warships, at the 37 human vessels, still undamaged, still holding formation. His mind broke, quietly, completely. The light behind his 6 yellow eyes simply went out. His body remained standing, but Admiral Vaxorin was gone, retreated into some dark place where the horrors could not reach. Commander Drextar saw it happen, saw the moment when 4 centuries of certainty shattered like glass. The communications console beeped, quiet, almost apologetic. Drextar stepped forward, took command without announcement, without ceremony, because someone had to. Thorne's face appeared on the view screen, still calm, not triumphant, not mocking, just matter of fact. "Admiral Vaxorin," Thorne said quietly. Then he paused, seeing the empty eyes, understanding. "Commander Drextar, this did not have to happen. We gave you 10 minutes. You chose to attack. That was your decision. Your mistake. Your consequence." His cold blue-gray eyes held no mercy, but also no cruelty, just truth. "Go home, Commander. Tell your Emperor what happens when someone ignores our warnings. Tell him we will reduce their empire to ashes and regret. Tell him we meant every word." Another pause, briefer. "Tell him this was mercy. Tell him if he wants our Earth, he will have to come and take it himself. We will be waiting." The transmission ended. The view screen returned to external view. The 37 human vessels turned slowly, moving back toward Titan Station, resuming their previous positions, as if nothing had happened. Drextar stood on the bridge of a broken flagship, surrounded by the ghosts of 78,000 dead. He had one duty left, one mission remaining: survive, return home, warn the Empire. "Navigation," Drextar said. His voice was hoarse, wrong but functional. "Set course for home. Maximum speed, all surviving ships to follow." "Course laid in, Commander." "Engage." The 43 battered ships jumped to hyperspace, fleeing, running, carrying news of the impossible, of the humans. Purple skies, black oceans, continents covered in cities that glowed red in the twilight, monuments to conquest stretching toward the stars. Commander Drextar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. He had assumed command 3 days ago, when it became clear that Vaxorin would not recover, could not recover. Behind him in the medical bay, Admiral Vaxorin sat in a chair, eyes open but empty, staring at nothing. The medtechs had tried everything: drugs, neural stimulation. Nothing worked. The admiral's consciousness had simply shut down. 420 years of perfect service erased in 4 minutes and 37 seconds. 43 battered ships limped into orbit, hull breaches visible even from a distance. Scorch marks, missing sections, ships that had left as symbols of Imperial might returning as broken shells. The Imperial Palace communications array lit up immediately, demanding reports, status updates. Emperor Zorathar himself wanted answers, wanted to know why 340 ships had become 43. Drexthar stood at the communications station. His 4 eyes were bloodshot from 72 hours without sleep. His purple skin looked gray with exhaustion. But duty demanded. Protocol required. The Empire needed to know. "Open a channel to the Imperial Palace," Drexthar ordered. His voice was hoarse, worn. "Secure line, priority alpha, direct to the Emperor." The communications officer worked his console. Young barely survived the battle. His hands shook slightly as he entered the encryption codes. "Channel open, Commander." "The Emperor is standing by." Emperor Zorathar's face filled the screen, 750 years old, 4 red eyes burning with barely controlled fury. His massive frame filled the throne room behind him, black skin gleaming in the red light. "Commander Drexthar," Zorathar said, each word precise, dangerous. "Where is Admiral Vexorin?" Drexthar stood at attention. Military discipline, the only thing holding him upright. "Emperor, Admiral Vexorin is incapacitated. His mind suffered catastrophic trauma during the engagement. He is catatonic. I have assumed command of the surviving fleet." Zorathar's eyes narrowed. "Surviving fleet? You departed with 340 ships. I count 43 in orbit. Explain." Drexthar took a breath, forced the words out. "We encountered the human fleet at their colony-designated Titan station. 37 civilian vessels as intelligence predicted. We attempted to force their surrender. They refused. Admiral Vexorin ordered weapons free. And they destroyed us, Emperor. 297 ships, 78,000 crew, in less than 5 minutes." Silence fell across the communication link. Zorathar stared, his 4 eyes wide, disbelief written across his face. 297 ships, the Emperor repeated slowly, destroyed by 37 civilian vessels. "Yes, Emperor. That is impossible. I have the tactical recordings, Emperor. I will transmit them immediately." The data transfer took 6 minutes. 6 minutes of silence while Zorathar watched the battle unfold. The plasma cannons striking human hulls with no effect. The simple metal projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. 12 destroyers gone in 3 seconds. The weapon reversal. The sphere of liquid mercury. The fleet's own firepower turned against them. When the recording ended, Zorathar sat motionless on his throne. His 4 eyes stared at something only he could see. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. The Altari was right. Drexthar said nothing. There was nothing to say. "Assemble the High Council," Zorathar ordered. His voice gained strength. "Command returning. Immediately. Full emergency session. I want every military leader, every strategic advisor, everyone." "It shall be done, Emperor." The transmission ended. Drexthar slumped against the communications console, the weight of 78,000 dead pressing down on him. Lieutenant Saris approached from her station. She had barely left her post during the entire journey home, analyzing the battle data, running simulations, trying to understand the impossible. "Commander," Saris said quietly, "I have completed my analysis of the human weapon systems." Drexthar looked at her, saw the fear in her violet eyes. "Tell me." "The projectiles they used, simple tungsten carbide, no exotic materials, no advanced alloys, just refined metal accelerated to 0.09 times light speed. At that velocity, even a small mass carries kinetic energy equivalent to a tactical nuclear weapon. How did they achieve such acceleration? I do not know. The energy requirements should be impossible, but somehow they solved it. And the weapon reversal technology. Commander, that sphere we saw, it was a controlled micro-wormhole. They created a localized space-time distortion that reversed the trajectory and amplified the energy of everything passing through it." Drexthar felt cold seep through his bones. "That technology should not exist." "It does now," Saris replied, "and they used it with perfect precision. Not one of their projectiles missed. Not one of their ships took damage. They knew exactly what we would do before we did it." Tactical analysis. Saris pulled up data on her portable console. "I ran pattern analysis on their movements. Commander, they were not reacting to our attacks. They were predicting them." Every shot we fired, they had already calculated the trajectory and moved before we pulled the trigger. Their combat computers are at least a century ahead of ours. Drexthar closed his four eyes. Exhaustion and horror mixing together. How many more of those ships do they have? Unknown, but Commander, those were converted civilian vessels. Mining ships, cargo haulers. If that is what their civilian fleet can do, what do you think their actual military is capable of? The question hung in the air, unanswered, unanswerable. The High Council assembled in the great chamber beneath the Imperial Palace. The room was ancient, carved from living rock 10,000 years ago. Red crystals embedded in the walls provided light, harsh, unforgiving. Around the obsidian table sat the Empire's leadership, military commanders, strategic planners, senior advisors, 30 of the most powerful Krillians alive. Emperor Zorathar sat at the head of the table. His massive frame dwarfed the throne-like chair. To his right sat High Counselor Kyrathos, 920 years old, gray skin, almost translucent, four eyes dim with age but sharp with intelligence. Drexthar stood at the presentation station. Lieutenant Saris beside him. Neither had slept. Neither had eaten. Duty consumed everything else. Show them, Zorathar ordered. The holographic display activated. The battle played out in miniature above the table. 340 Krillian ships appearing in perfect formation. 37 human vessels spreading out in their strange pattern. The failed attempt to intimidate. The plasma strikes that did nothing. The 3-second kill of 12 destroyers. The Council watched in silence as the weapon reversal occurred, as 297 ships died, as the pride of the Krillian Navy fled in broken defeat. When it ended, no one spoke for a full minute. Fleet Admiral Korthax broke the silence. 500 years old, veteran of 100 campaigns. His voice shook slightly. This cannot be accurate. Some error in the recording. Some malfunction. The recording is accurate, Drexthar said flatly. I watched it happen with my own eyes. 78,000 of our people died in those 4 minutes. They are not coming home. General Vexer stood, Ground Forces Commander. 350 years old, muscles built for war. His voice carried rage barely controlled. Then we mobilize everything. Every ship, every soldier. We crush them with numbers they cannot overcome. Several council members growled agreement, fists pounding on the obsidian table. High Counselor Karathos raised one ancient hand. The room fell silent. When the oldest living Krillian spoke, even emperors listened. And how many ships do you propose to send, General? Karathos asked. His voice was soft, reasonable. We have 820 warships remaining in our entire fleet. If 37 civilian vessels destroyed 297 of our best, what do you think their actual military could do to 800? Vexer's jaw clenched. Then we build more ships. We prepare. We cannot simply accept this defeat. I am not suggesting acceptance, Karathos replied. I am suggesting wisdom, something this council seems to have forgotten. Emperor Zorathar leaned forward, his 4 red eyes fixed on the ancient counselor. High Counselor, you warned us. You said arrogance destroys empires. I did not listen. That mistake cost 78,000 lives. I am listening now. What would you have us do? Karathos stood slowly, age making every movement deliberate. He walked to the holographic display, studied the frozen image of the human fleet. We have ruled this galaxy for 12 millennia, he said quietly. We grew arrogant, complacent. We forgot that the universe does not care about our history, does not respect our achievements. We believed ourselves invincible. The humans proved otherwise. He turned to face the council. We have 2 choices. We can accept reality and adapt, or we can cling to pride and face extinction. Those are the only options. You suggest surrender. Vexer spat the word like poison. I suggest survival, Karathos corrected. There is a difference. Zorathar raised his hand, commanding silence. We will not decide today. Commander Drexthar, you will continue analyzing the battle data. Find weaknesses. Find something we can exploit. Lieutenant Saris, you will coordinate intelligence gathering. I want to know everything about human capabilities. Everything. Yes, Emperor, they replied in unison. This council is dismissed. We reconvene in 1 week. Until then, no one speaks of this outside this chamber. The population does not need to know the extent of our defeat. Not yet. As the council dispersed, Karathos remained at the holographic display, studying the human ships, their impossible technology, their perfect tactics. Drextar approached the ancient counselor. High Counselor, Drextar said quietly, do you truly believe we can find a weakness? Kirathos looked at him with eyes that had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. Commander, I have lived 920 years. I have seen empires that believed themselves eternal crumble to dust. I have watched the strong fall and the weak endure. I have learned one lesson above all others. What lesson? The most dangerous thing in the universe is not strength. It is the wisdom to know when strength is not enough. The Krillian Empire mobilized for total war. Every shipyard worked day and night. Repairs on the damaged vessels. New construction beginning. Emperor Zorathar had given the order. 820 ships. The entire military might of the empire. One final assault. General Vexer oversaw ground troop training. 50,000 soldiers drilling for planetary assault. This time they would not rely on space superiority. They would take worlds by force. Hold them. Use human populations as hostages. Fleet Admiral Korthax coordinated fleet tactics. New formations, new strategies, overwhelming firepower from multiple angles. Force the humans to divide their attention. But despite all the preparation, despite all the planning, a sense of doom hung over everything. Soldiers whispered in barracks. Officers exchanged worried glances. Everyone had seen the tactical recordings. Everyone knew what waited for them. Lieutenant Saris worked alone in her intelligence station. She had requisitioned every piece of data available on humans. Their history, their culture, their wars. 5,000 years of conflict. Never stopping, never pausing. War as a constant. War as a way of life. She pulled up historical analysis. Human battles. Ancient to modern. The tactics evolved. The weapons changed. But the core philosophy remained constant. Total commitment. Absolute ruthlessness when threatened. No concept of limited warfare. Her console beeped. New data arriving. Long-range reconnaissance. Automated probes scanning the Sol system from the edge of sensor range. What she saw made her blood freeze. The human fleet had grown. 37 ships at Titan Station had become 200, not converted civilian vessels anymore. Purpose-built warships, sleek, deadly, designs that suggested they had studied Krillian technology and improved it. More concerning, energy signatures around Earth itself, massive construction, orbital platforms, weapon systems that made no sense, power outputs that should not be possible. Saris ran calculations. Ran them again. Checked her math 3 times. The humans were building a defensive grid around their homeworld, one that could theoretically destroy an entire invasion fleet in minutes. She transmitted her findings directly to Emperor Zorathar. Marked Priority Alpha. Recommended immediate strategic review. The reply came back within an hour. 2 words. Too late. The fleet would depart in 3 days. Ready or not, prepared or not, 820 ships against whatever the humans had waiting. Saris sat in her quarters that night, unable to sleep, unable to stop thinking. They were sailing into annihilation. Everyone knew it, but pride demanded, honor required. The Empire could not show weakness. In a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Garrick Thorne stood in the Strategic Operations Center. He had returned from Titan Station 2 weeks ago, leaving command to his second. Mitchell could handle things there. The real decisions needed to be made here. The operations center was massive. 3 stories tall, walls covered in displays, hundreds of officers and analysts working in coordinated silence. Data streaming in from across the solar system. Sensor arrays, spy satellites, deep space monitoring stations. Admiral Kyle Morrison stood at the Central Command Station. 58 years old, white hair cropped military short, weathered face lined with 3 decades of hard decisions, gray eyes that missed nothing. He wore a simple black uniform. No decorations, no medals, just rank insignia on the collar. Morrison had commanded Earth's defense forces for 15 years. He had overseen the preparation, the planning, the building, everything that had led to this moment. Thorne approached the command station, saluted sharply. Morrison returned the gesture. Commander Thorne, Morrison said. His voice was gravelly, worn from years of issuing orders. Status report from Titan Station. 200 warships deployed, Admiral. Goal fully armed, all crews trained. The Krillians will not find us unprepared this time. Morrison nodded, turned back to the main display. It showed the entire solar system. Red icons marking Krillian probe positions. Blue icons showing human forces. Green indicating defensive installations. Intelligence suggests they are coming with everything they have, Morrison said. 820 ships. Their entire fleet. Can we stop them? Morrison's expression did not change. That depends on how smart they are. If they attack conventionally, yes. Easily. If they do something unexpected, he paused. We will adapt. A younger woman approached. 30s, brilliant eyes, dark hair pulled back in a functional ponytail. Dr. Raina Thorne, Garrick's younger sister, chief weapons engineer for the Earth Defense Force. Admiral, Raina said. No salute. Scientists did not bother with military formality. We finished analyzing the wreckage from the Krillian ships. Salvage teams recovered enough intact technology to reverse engineer their shield systems. Morrison turned to face her fully, interest clear in his expression. And their shields operate on a single frequency, very powerful on that frequency, but completely vulnerable to multi-band attacks. We have already upgraded our defensive grid to exploit this weakness. How long did the reverse engineering take? 3 weeks from initial salvage to full implementation. Morrison allowed himself a small smile, grim satisfaction. 3 weeks. They spent centuries developing that technology. We understood it and improved it in 3 weeks. Raina shrugged. They built for power. We built for adaptability. Different philosophies. Ours is better. She pulled up schematics on the command station display. Technical diagrams of Krillian shields, then human modifications. The differences subtle but significant. The Krillians never anticipated multi-frequency attacks because no one in this galaxy uses them, Raina continued. They are fighting the last war, the last 1,000 wars, all against opponents who think like them. We do not think like them. Garrick stepped closer to examine the schematics. What about their FTL drives? Raina's eyes lit up, the excitement of discovery. Even better, their hyperspace technology is elegant but limited. We captured 7 ships relatively intact, pulled the drives out, studied them, found the theoretical limits. And we broke through those limits. Our new drives are 40% faster, more efficient, more reliable. We can jump to any point in the solar system in minutes. They take hours. Morrison leaned back against the command station, arms crossed, thinking. So we have superior shields, superior speed. What about weapons? The railguns perform perfectly at Titan Station, Garrick said. Simple, reliable, effective. But we have something new, something the Krillians have never seen. He pulled up classified files, weapon schematics, test data, results that made even Morrison raise his eyebrows. AI-guided minefield, Garrick explained. We have seeded the approach vectors to Earth with thousands of microsatellites, each one equipped with electromagnetic pulse generators, networked together, controlled by quantum computing arrays. How effective? Simulations suggest 70 to 80% of an invasion fleet would lose sensors and communications before they even engaged our main forces. Blind, deaf, helpless. Morrison studied the data, running calculations in his head, probabilities, outcomes, acceptable losses. When do the Krillians arrive? Long-range sensors detect hyperspace signatures. An intelligence analyst call it from across the operations center. Large fleet, 4 days out, moving toward our system. Morrison straightened. Decision time? Activate Protocol Titan. Full implementation. I want every defensive system online. Every ship at battle stations. Every orbital platform armed and ready. Admiral Bayan, Garrick said quietly. If they come with 800 ships, this will not be like Titan Station. The casualties will be enormous. Theirs and potentially ours. Morrison met his eyes. No fear there, no hesitation, just cold assessment. Then we make sure the casualties are theirs. We tried peace. We gave them a chance to walk away. They chose war. Now they face the consequences. He turned to address the entire operations center. His voice carried to every station, every officer, every analyst. In 4 days, the Krillian Empire will arrive with everything they have. They come seeking conquest. They come expecting victims who will fold under pressure. They are wrong. We are not victims. We are humanity, and we have been preparing for war since the first human picked up the first rock to defend the first home. Silence filled the massive chamber. Then one officer began to clap. Slow, steady, others joined. Building. Until the entire operations center rang with applause. Morrison waited for it to fade. To your stations. 4 days. We work every hour of those 4 days. We check every system, test every weapon, drill every contingency. When they arrive, we will be ready. He looked at Garrick and Reyna, and may whatever gods exist have mercy on them, because we certainly will not. The Krillian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 820 warships, every combat-capable vessel in the Empire. Capital ships 5 kilometers long, cruisers bristling with weapons, destroyers built for speed and firepower, troop transports carrying ground forces, supply vessels, medical ships, everything needed for total conquest. Commander Drexthar stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, the new flagship, the Eternal Dominion still undergoing repairs, Vaxrin still catatonic in the medical bay. Emperor Zarathar had insisted on coming personally, standing now at the observation deck of the Imperial command ship, 750 years old. Refusing to let subordinates handle this battle, Pride demanded he see the humans defeated with his own eyes. Fleet Admiral Korthax coordinated the fleet movements. 500 years of experience guiding 820 ships into perfect formation. This time they would not rush, would not underestimate, would not fail. All ships report ready, the communications officer announced. Weapons charged, shields at maximum, troops prepared for deployment. Drexthar nodded. His 4 eyes studied the tactical display. The Sol system spread out before him. The yellow sun, the inner rocky planets, the asteroid belt, the gas giants beyond, and there, third planet from the sun, blue and green, Earth. Tactical, Drexthar ordered. Full sensor sweep. I want positions of every human vessel, every station, every defensive installation. The tactical officer's hands moved across his console, data streaming in from 820 sensor arrays. Long seconds passed. The officer's expression shifted from concentration to confusion to alarm. Commander, the tactical officer said slowly, I am detecting unusual readings. Specify. 200 warships in formation around Earth. Those match our intelligence estimates. But I am also detecting massive energy signatures throughout the inner system. Thousands of small objects in orbit around Earth and Mars. Power outputs that do not make sense. Gravitational anomalies in the asteroid belt. Commander, this is not matching our reconnaissance data. Drexthar leaned over the console, studied the readings himself. His 4 eyes widened. The humans had not been idle during the past 4 weeks. They had turned the entire inner solar system into a fortress. Weapon platforms disguised as asteroids. Power generators hidden on moons. Defensive grids networked across millions of kilometers. Send this data to the Emperor immediately, Drexthar ordered. On the Imperial command ship. Zarathar studied the tactical analysis. His 4 red eyes burned with fury and grudging respect. They prepared, he said quietly. They knew we would come, and they prepared. High Counselor Kirathos stood beside the Emperor. The ancient Krillian's gray face showed no surprise. Did you expect otherwise, Emperor? They are warriors. Warriors prepare. Zorathar's massive hands clenched into fists. Then we break their preparations. Fleet Admiral Korthax, begin the attack. Full assault, overwhelming force. Show them the true might of the Krillian Empire. Korthax hesitated, just for a moment. Emperor, might I suggest a more measured approach? Probe their defenses. Identify weak points before committing the full fleet. No, Zarathar snapped. We tried caution at Titan Station. It failed. Now we use force. Absolute. Unstoppable. Begin the attack. The 820 ships move forward, entering the inner solar system, weapons armed, shields at maximum. This would be the largest space battle in galactic history. They crossed the orbit of Mars. No resistance. The human colony there appeared abandoned. Empty cities visible on the surface. No defenders. No opposition. Curious, Drexthar muttered. Why abandon Mars? Lieutenant Saris pulled up analysis on her console. Commander, I am detecting automated systems throughout the Martian cities. Power signatures. Movement. The cities are not abandoned. They are automated. Automated for what purpose? Before Saris could answer, the cities began to fire, not at the Krillian fleet in orbit, at specific targets on the planet's surface. Precision strikes, controlled demolitions. Buildings collapsed in perfect synchronization, creating massive debris clouds, dust storms, atmospheric interference. They are blinding our sensors, Saris realized, using their own cities as chaff. The Krillian fleet pressed forward, past Mars, into the asteroid belt. This was where they expected real resistance, where human forces could hide among the rocks, ambush from unexpected angles. But the asteroids remained quiet. No ships, no weapons, just ancient rocks floating in their eternal orbits. Drexthar felt cold suspicion growing. This is wrong. They should be defending, harassing us, slowing our advance. Perhaps they are concentrating everything around Earth, Korthak suggested. A final stand at their homeworld. The fleet moved deeper into the belt. Navigation became tricky, asteroids by the thousands, some tiny, some massive, all potentially hiding threats. Then it happened. Small objects began appearing on sensors, thousands of them, each one perhaps a meter in diameter, spherical, metallic, spreading throughout the fleet like a swarm. Mines, someone shouted, evasive action. But the objects did not explode. They pulsed. Electromagnetic energy erupted from each sphere, not damaging, not destructive, just interference, massive interference. Sensors went dark across the fleet. Communication systems scrambled. Targeting computers locked up. Shield generators fluctuated wildly as their control systems struggled with the electromagnetic noise. 820 ships, suddenly blind, deaf, helpless. Restore systems, Drexthar shouted. Emergency protocols, get our sensors back online. Engineers worked frantically. But the pulses continued, wave after wave of electromagnetic interference, carefully calibrated, perfectly timed, designed specifically to disrupt Krillian technology. Through the sensor static, through the communication jamming, a single transmission cut through. Clear, strong, unmistakable. The voice of Commander Garrick Thorne. Commander Drexthar, this is your final warning. You are in a kill zone. Your sensors are disabled. Your communications are compromised. Your ships are vulnerable. I am giving you one chance, one opportunity. Leave now, or face consequences you cannot imagine. Drexthar tried to respond, but the jamming blocked all outgoing transmissions. On the Imperial command ship, Emperor Zarathar listened to Thorne's message. His 4 eyes burned with rage. They dare, he snarled. They dare threaten us while we outnumber them. Emperor, Karathos said quietly, perhaps we should consider... No, Zarathar roared. Fire everything, every weapon. Saturate this entire region with firepower. Destroy every asteroid, every mine, everything. The order went out through hardline emergency channels. Backup communication systems designed for exactly this situation. 820 ships opened fire. Blind, shooting into darkness, hoping volume would compensate for accuracy. Plasma bolts, missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds. Thousands of weapons discharging simultaneously. Space lit up like a supernova. Asteroids vaporized. Mines destroyed. Debris fields expanding in all directions. The electromagnetic interference faded. Sensors began coming back online. Systems rebooting. Communication channels clearing. Damage report, Drexthar demanded. 73 ships reporting shield failures from debris impacts. 21 with minor hull breaches. 87 crew casualties from decompression. No critical damage. Sensors restoring to 70% functionality. Relief washed through the bridge. They had survived this trap, broken through the interference. The path to Earth lay open. Then the human fleet appeared. Not 37 ships, not even 200. 500 warships, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the Krillian fleet on all sides. Above, below, flanking, everywhere. Each ship was a work of deadly art. Black hulls that seemed to absorb light, sharp angles designed to deflect sensors, weapon ports that glowed with contained energy, not converted civilian vessels, purpose-built instruments of war. Drexthar stared at the tactical display, at the blue icons representing human ships, outnumbering his forces, surrounding them completely. Impossible, he whispered. Our intelligence said 200 ships maximum. Where did 500 come from? Lieutenant Saris worked her console frantically, pulling data, running analysis. Commander, these ships, they match no previous designs. They are completely new construction, built in the last 4 weeks. They must have shipyards we never detected, production capacity we never imagined. The human fleet held position, not attacking, not advancing, just waiting, a wall of silent threat. Then Commander Thorne's voice returned. Broadcast on all frequencies. Fleet Commander Drexthar, Emperor Zorathar, you have entered our home system with hostile intent. You have ignored our warnings. You have chosen violence over peace. This is your final opportunity. Withdraw immediately. Leave our space. Never return. or we will show you why you should have listened the first time. A pause. Brief, heavy with implication. You have 60 seconds to decide. On the bridge of the vengeance. Silence fell. Officers looked to Drexthar, waiting for orders, waiting for leadership. Drexthar looked at the tactical display. 820 Krillian ships, 500 human vessels, superior position, superior technology, superior tactics. He opened a secure channel to the Imperial command ship. Emperor, we are surrounded in a tactically inferior position. I recommend immediate withdrawal. Zorathar's response came back immediately. 4 words, filled with 750 years of pride. The Empire does not retreat. Drexthar closed his eyes, just for a moment, knowing what came next. Admiral Korthax, Zorathar's voice came over the command channel. All ships, attack formation Delta. Concentrate fire on the nearest human vessels. Break through their lines. We claim Earth today, or we die trying. The 60 seconds expired. The Krillian fleet charged, and the humans opened fire. It was an execution. 500 human warships did not charge, did not rush forward with weapons blazing. They simply engaged. Precise, calculated, professional. The Krillian fleet broke into attack formation. 820 ships dividing into strike groups, attempting to overwhelm sections of the human line through concentrated firepower. Textbook tactics, proven over millennia of conquest. The humans ignored the textbook. Their ships moved in patterns that made no tactical sense. 3 vessels would engage 50 Krillian ships, then vanish, reappear behind the formation, strike weak points, disappear again, not running, repositioning, using their superior faster-than-light drives to jump across thousands of kilometers in seconds. Commander Drexthar watched helplessly from the bridge of the Vengeance. His tactical displays showed chaos. Krillian ships firing at empty space where human vessels had been milliseconds before. Weapon discharges wasted. Energy depleted on ghosts. They are toying with us, Drexthar said quietly. Realization dawning. Horror following. This is not combat. This is a demonstration. Fleet Admiral Korthax coordinated it from the Imperial command ship. 500 years of military experience counted for nothing. The humans fought unlike any enemy he had ever faced. No honor duels, no formation battles, no respect for the conventions of warfare. They fought to win, nothing more, nothing less. The first Krillian casualties came quickly. A destroyer turned to pursue a human frigate. The frigate jumped away. 3 human cruisers appeared in its place. Railgun fire at relativistic speeds. The destroyer shattered. Crew of 800. Gone. Then another, and another. Human ships appearing, firing, vanishing, reappearing somewhere else. Methodical, systematic, ruthless. All ships, Korthax shouted into the command channel. Defensive formation, concentrate shields, mutual support. The Krillian fleet pulled together. Ships moving close, overlapping shield coverage, classical defensive posture, safety in numbers. The humans adapted instantly. They stopped engaging directly. Instead, they simply jumped away. All 500 ships, vanishing from the battlefield completely. Silence fell across the Krillian fleet. Sensors showing empty space. No targets, no threats. Just debris from the 19 ships already lost. Where did they go? Drexthar demanded. Tactical, find them. Searching commander. No contacts within sensor range. They could be anywhere in the system. Lieutenant Saris pulled up system-wide scans. Her violet eyes widened with sudden understanding. Commander, they did not retreat. They split up. Multiple groups jumping to different locations. Mars, Europa, the asteroid mining stations. They are attacking our potential fallback positions. 3 human warships appeared in orbit above the automated cities. Not warships exactly, engineering vessels, construction ships. They began deploying something into the Martian atmosphere. Thousands of small objects, scattering like seeds. General Vexer watched from his command center. 50,000 troops, prepared for ground combat, dug into defensive positions across the planet. The small objects the humans had deployed began to activate, not weapons, worse than weapons. Industrial mining drones, reprogrammed, weaponized. Each drone located Krillian defensive positions with perfect accuracy, then began drilling, not attacking the positions directly, drilling around them, beneath them, creating instabilities in the ground, controlled collapses. Entire Krillian fortifications sank into the Martian regolith, troops buried alive. Not killed by weapons, killed by engineering, by understanding of planetary geology better than the defenders understood themselves. Vexor watched the catastrophe unfold. 350 years of military experience. Meaningless. The humans were not fighting a war, they were solving a problem. Fall back, Vexor ordered. All units to the secondary positions. The troops retreated, abandoning fortifications that were sinking into the red sand. Heading for backup defensive lines. They found those positions already compromised. The Martian cities, the automated systems, all activated remotely by human command. Buildings collapsed in calculated patterns, creating debris fields, blocking routes, channeling Krillian forces into kill zones. Automated turrets emerged from the rubble. Old technology, human mining equipment repurposed. Not advanced, not sophisticated, just functional, deadly, effective. The turrets opened fire. Kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, technology centuries old, but used with surgical precision. Targeting communications equipment, command vehicles, officers. Vexor watched his chain of command disintegrate. Headquarters destroyed, communications severed, 50,000 troops scattered across Mars with no coordination, no leadership, no hope. Jupiter's ice moon. The situation was worse. Krillian forces had occupied the human mining stations 3 weeks ago, 18 installations, each controlling access to subsurface water resources. The Krillian garrison consisted of 4,200 troops, comfortable in the captured facilities, warm, protected, safe, until the ice began to crack. The humans had spent decades mining Europa. They knew every fault line, every weak point, every stress fracture in the kilometers-thick ice shell. They had mapped the moon's internal structure down to the meter, and they had left presence. Seismic charges, placed precisely at critical structural points, dormant, waiting. Now those charges activated, not large explosions, small, calculated, creating vibrations, resonances, chain reactions in the ice. The surface around the Krillian positions began to collapse, not all at once, slowly, methodically, giving the garrison time to panic, time to scramble, time to understand exactly what was happening. Lieutenant Corvus commanded the Europa garrison, 140 years old, experienced officer. He watched the ice fracture spreading across the surface, moving toward his position with geological inevitability. "Evacuate," Corvus screamed. "All personnel to the transport ship's emergency departure." The troops fled, running across unstable ice. Desperate, terrified, most made it to the transports. Most. 427 soldiers did not. The ice gave way beneath them. They fell into the freezing ocean below. Pressurized suits keeping them alive for a few minutes, long enough to understand they were drowning in an alien sea, long enough to regret. The transport ships lifted off, escaping into Europa's thin atmosphere, carrying 3,700 survivors, traumatized, defeated, broken. The Krillian occupying forces discovered an even crueler truth. They had captured 18 mining stations 2 weeks earlier. Each station controlled automated mining equipment, mass drivers, ore processors, industrial machinery designed to extract resources from asteroids. The Krillian troops had secured the facilities, posted guards, established defensive perimeters, standard occupation procedures. They had not understood what they were occupying. The mining equipment activated remotely, mass drivers designed to launch ore containers toward collection points. Simple technology, magnetic acceleration, nothing sophisticated. But the humans had reprogrammed the targeting systems. The mass drivers no longer launched ore. They launched asteroids, chunks of rock masses ranging from 10 kilograms to 10 tons, accelerated to incredible velocities, aimed at Krillian ships in the belt. Commander Thexus watched in horror as his own captured mining station began bombarding his fleet, a steady stream of rock projectiles, each one carrying kinetic energy equivalent to tactical weapons. Unstoppable, unavoidable, relentless. "Destroy the stations," Thexus ordered. "All ships fire on the mining facilities." The Krillian vessels opened fire, plasma bolts striking the asteroid stations, vaporizing structures, melting equipment, but there were 18 stations, and destroying them took time measured in minutes, minutes during which the mass drivers continued firing, continued launching asteroids at the Krillian fleet. 7 ships destroyed before the bombardment ended, crews totaling 5,600, dead because they had occupied positions they did not understand. The human fleet reappeared, all 500 ships arriving simultaneously from different locations, surrounding the Krillian fleet once again. But now the psychological damage was complete. Every Krillian officer knew what was happening on Mars, Europa, the asteroids, news traveling through the fleet like poison. Morale crumbling, confidence evaporating. Commander Garrick Thorne broadcast on all channels. Fleet Commander Drexthar, you have now experienced what happens when you occupy human territory without permission. Mars, Europa. The asteroid belt, 6,100 of your soldiers dead, not killed in honorable combat, killed by engineering, by preparation, by our understanding of the battlefield better than you ever could. A pause, let the words sink in, let the implications settle. You still have 734 ships. We have 500. Numerically, you maintain advantage. But numbers mean nothing when you are fighting blind. When every position you take becomes a trap. When every world you occupy turns against you. Another pause. Longer, heavier. I am giving you one final chance. Withdraw from our system. Leave now. Never return. Or we will continue this lesson until your entire fleet is debris. Commander Drexthar stood motionless. His four eyes stared at the tactical display, at the blue icons surrounding his fleet, at the casualty reports streaming in from across the system. 86 ships lost in the main engagement. 6,100 ground troops dead on Mars, Europa, and the asteroids. Over 20,000 crew casualties total, and they had not even engaged the main human fleet yet. He opened a secure channel to Emperor Zorathar. Emperor, we must withdraw. This is not a battle we can win. Zorathar's response came back immediately, voice thick with rage and something else. Something that might have been fear. The Krillian Empire does not surrender. They are not what we thought, Drexthar said quietly, firmly. They are warriors who have spent 5,000 years perfecting the art of war. We are fighting the accumulated tactical knowledge of an entire species' history. Every mistake they ever made, every battle they ever lost, all studied, analyzed, corrected. We cannot win this. Silence on the channel, long, tense. High Counselor Karathos' ancient voice came through, weary, resigned. Emperor, the commander is right. We have two choices. Die with pride intact. Or live and learn from our mistakes. Choose. More silence. Drexthar could almost feel Zorathar's internal struggle. 750 years of pride, of conquest, of never backing down, all weighing against survival. Finally, the Emperor spoke. Each word forced out like broken glass. Fleet Admiral Korthax, signal general retreat. All ships to withdraw to hyperspace. Immediate departure. Relief flooded through Drexthar, followed immediately by shame. They were fleeing, running from the first real defeat in their history. All ships, Drexthar announced on the fleet-wide channel, prepare for emergency hyperspace jump. Coordinates set for home system. Departure in 60 seconds. The Krillian fleet began to turn, ships reorienting for jump, shields still raised, weapons still charged, retreating but not surrendering, maintaining formation even in defeat. The human ships did not pursue, did not attack the fleeing vessels. They simply watched, silent, waiting. 59 seconds, 58, 57. Hyperspace drives charging, reality beginning to bend around the remaining ships. Then Commander Thorne's voice cut through the comm channels one last time. Fleet Commander Drexthar, one more thing. When you return home, when you make your report to your Emperor, tell him this. Tell him we know where you live. The words hung in space like a physical presence. Tell him we have known for months. Tell him we could have struck your homeworld at any time. Tell him we chose not to because we are not conquerors. We are protectors. But if you ever threaten human worlds again, we will come to your home, and we will show you what total war truly means. The Krillian fleet jumped, 734 ships vanishing in flashes of blue-white light, fleeing to hyperspace. Racing home. Behind them, the human fleet held position. Garrick Thorne sat in his command chair. Casualty report, Thorne ordered. His tactical officer checked displays. 0 casualties, Commander. 23 ships report minor damage from debris. No critical injuries. No losses. Thorne nodded, exactly as planned, exactly as calculated. Send a message to Admiral Morrison. Tell him the Krillians have withdrawn. Tell him to proceed to the next phase. Yes, Commander. Thorn stood, walked to the view screen, looked out at the debris field, at the wreckage of 86 Krillian ships. Thousands of lives ended, necessary, inevitable, regrettable, but necessary. The Krillian fleet arrived at their homeworld. 820 ships had departed, 734 returned, 86 ships lost, over 20,000 crew and soldiers dead. The fleet limped into orbit, damaged, defeated, demoralized. Commander Drexthar stood on the bridge of the Vengeance. He had not slept properly in a week, had not eaten a full meal in days, but duty remained. Reports needed filing. Debriefings scheduled. Explanations demanded. The communications console beeped. Priority signal from the planet's surface. Imperial Palace. Emperor Zorathar requesting immediate audience. Drexthar transported down. Materializing in the throne room. Black volcanic stone. Red crystal lighting. The Emperor sitting on his massive throne. 750 years of power and pride. Now tempered with something new. Uncertainty. High Counselor Karathos stood to the Emperor's right. 920 years old. Gray skin almost translucent. 4 eyes dim but wise. He looked at Drexthar with something that might have been sympathy. Commander Drexthar, Zorathar said, his voice controlled. Careful. Report. Drexthar stood at attention, military discipline the only thing holding him together. Emperor, we engaged the human fleet in their home system. They deployed tactics we could not counter, technology we could not match, strategic thinking we could not predict. We lost 86 ships, over 20,000 crew and soldiers. We retreated to prevent total annihilation. And the human casualties, 0 Emperor, they did not lose a single ship, not one casualty reported. The throne room fell silent, the weight of that truth settling over everyone present. Karathos stepped forward, his ancient voice quiet but clear. Emperor, I propose we seek immediate diplomatic contact with the humans, negotiate peace before more lives are lost. Zorathar's 4 eyes burned, pride warring with pragmatism. The Empire negotiate with them, Mom. The alternative is extinction, Karathos said bluntly. They know where we live. They have superior technology, superior tactics, and they have shown remarkable restraint by not attacking our homeworld when they easily could have. We should not mistake that restraint for weakness. Before Zorathar could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the palace. Warning klaxons, emergency alerts. A communications officer burst into the throne room, young, terrified. Emperor long-range sensors detect hyperspace signatures, ships arriving in our outer system. Zorathar stood, his massive frame tense. How many ships? The officer's voice shook. 20 Emperor, unknown configuration, moving toward our homeworld at high speed. Drexthar felt his blood freeze. The humans. Here. Already. Activate planetary defenses, Zorathar ordered. All orbital platforms, scramble the reserve fleet, prepare for Emperor. Karathos interrupted. Calm, steady. Perhaps we should wait, see what they want before assuming hostile intent. The communications console in the throne room activated, unsolicited, unauthorized. A clear demonstration of superior technology. The humans had hacked into the Imperial Palace communication systems as easily as breathing. A face appeared on the screen. Male, human, older, white hair cropped short, weathered face lined with decades of hard decisions. Gray eyes that held no malice, just professional assessment. Admiral K.L. Morrison, 58 years old, commander of Earth Defense Forces. Emperor Zorathar, Morrison said. His voice was gravelly, worn, but carried undeniable authority. I am Admiral K.L. Morrison. I lead the human delegation. We come in peace. We wish to speak, nothing more. Zorathar stared at the screen, fury and helplessness mixing. You invaded our home system. You dare speak of peace? Morrison's expression did not change. We did not invade. We arrived. There is a difference. We have 20 ships in your outer system. Not 200, not 2,000. 20. Enough to make a statement, not enough to threaten. If we wanted war, Emperor, you would already know it. What do you want? To talk, to explain, to offer you something your empire has never offered its enemies. A chance to understand why you lost. Silence. Long, tense. Karathos touched Zorathar's arm. Gentle, respectful. Emperor, hear them out. What do we have to lose? Zorathar's jaw clenched, pride screaming to refuse, wisdom whispering to listen. Finally, reluctantly, he nodded. Very well, you may send a delegation to the palace. But Admiral Morrison, if this is a trick, if you betray this trust, I will spend every remaining day of my life hunting your species across the galaxy. Morrison allowed himself a small smile, grim, understanding. Noted Emperor, we will arrive within the hour. The transmission ended. A human shuttle landed in the palace courtyard. Small, unarmed, carrying only 4 passengers. Admiral Cale Morrison, Commander Garrick Thorne, Dr. Raina Thorne, and one more, Lieutenant Saris. The Krillian lieutenant had been released from human custody 2 weeks earlier. Returned unharmed, well-fed, treated with dignity despite being an enemy prisoner. She had spent those weeks in isolation, debriefing, being questioned, processing everything she had seen. Now she stood with the human delegation. Not as prisoner, as liaison, as bridge between 2 civilizations. The delegation was escorted to the throne room. Emperor Zarathar sat on his throne, massive, imposing, trying to project strength despite the defeat weighing on his shoulders. Admiral Morrison stepped forward. He did not salute, did not bow, simply stood at ease. Professional, respectful but not subservient. Emperor Zarathar, thank you for receiving us. You gave me little choice, Admiral. Morrison acknowledged that with a slight nod. True, but you could have refused, could have ordered your defenses to fire on our shuttle. You chose otherwise. That shows wisdom. Or weakness. There is a difference, Morrison replied, though many confuse the two. He gestured to Garrick Thorne. You have met Commander Thorne. He led our forces at Titan Station and during your recent visit to our system. Thorne nodded once. Morrison continued. This is Dr. Raina Thorne, Chief Weapons Engineer, and you already know Lieutenant Saris. Saris stood at attention, torn between loyalty to her empire and respect for the humans who had treated her fairly. Zarathar leaned forward slightly. Admiral Morrison, you said you came to explain why we lost. I am all listening. Morrison walked slowly around the throne room, studying the ancient carvings, the monuments to conquest. Impressive, Morrison said quietly. You have every right to consider us newcomers by comparison. And yet you defeated us. Twice. Yes, because we understood something your empire forgot. Which is, Morrison turned to face Zarathar directly. That war is not about who is strongest. It is about who adapts fastest, who learns from mistakes, who treats every defeat as a lesson and every victory as temporary. He pulled up a holographic display. Images of Earth, human history, thousands of years of conflict. My people have been at war for 5,000 years. Not one war, hundreds, thousands. We fought with rocks, with bronze, with steel, with chemistry, with atomic fire. We have killed each other in every way imaginable. The display showed battles, ancient, medieval, modern, the progression of human warfare across millennia. We did not win against you because we are stronger, Morrison continued. We won because we have made every mistake possible. And we remembered them all. We studied them. We built institutions dedicated to nothing but analyzing warfare. We turned combat into a science. Zarathar listened, silent, absorbing. You asked why you lost, Morrison said. I will tell you, you lost because you fought the last war, the last 1,000 wars, all against enemies who thought like you, who used tactics you recognized, technology you understood. We do not think like you. We do not fight like you. And that made us unpredictable. He changed the holographic display. Now it showed the recent battles, Titan Station, the Sol system, analyzed, dissected, every tactical decision explained. At Titan Station, you attacked with overwhelming force, standard conquest doctrine. We did not try to match your numbers. We used physics, relativistic projectiles, weapon reversal through controlled wormholes. We turned your strength against you. The display showed the second battle. In the Sol system, you came prepared for conventional warfare. We gave you unconventional warfare, electromagnetic mines, automated defenses, quantum-coordinated tactics across millions of kilometers. You fought in space. We turned entire planets into weapons. Drexstar stepped forward, unable to remain silent. But how did you develop such technology so quickly? We spent centuries building our shields, our weapons. You surpassed us in weeks. Raina Thorne spoke. Because we did not start from zero, Commander. We started from your technology. We salvaged your wreckage, reverse engineered your systems, found the weaknesses you never addressed because you never needed to. Then we improved everything. She pulled up the technical schematics. Your shields operate on single frequency, very strong on that frequency, but completely vulnerable to multi-band attacks. Oh, wait, because every species you ever fought used single-frequency weapons. You optimized for known threats. We created an unknown threats. Morrison resumed control of the conversation. Emperor, I did not come here to gloat. I came to offer you the same thing we offered every species that encountered us. Understanding. And a choice. What choice? Morrison's expression grew serious, grave. 300 years ago, my people began exploring space. 287 years ago, we found something left behind by a species far older than either of ours. He changed the holographic display. Ancient structures appeared, massive, alien. Technology that made both human and Krillian engineering look primitive. We call them the architects, a civilization that existed 47,000 years before humans left Earth. They built weapons, 12 of them, each one capable of destroying entire fleets, entire planets if necessary. The display showed massive ships, Titan-class vessels, each 1 kilometer long, black holes that seemed to absorb reality itself. The architects built these weapons to fight something called the Void, an extragalactic threat. We do not know much about it. The architects defeated it, but died in the process. The 12 Titans remained, dormant, waiting. Zorathor leaned forward, 4 red eyes wide. You found these weapons. We found them in our asteroid belt, inactive, unpowered, just floating. At first, we did not know what they were. It took decades to even access them, decades more to understand them. Morrison's expression grew distant, remembering. My people argued for 47 years about what to do. Some wanted to use the Titans to conquer the galaxy. Some wanted to destroy them, afraid of what we might become. The debate nearly tore our civilization apart. What did you decide? We chose a middle path. Keep the Titans, maintain them, but use them only for defense, only to protect, never to conquer, never to dominate. We made that choice because we had studied our own history. We knew what unchecked power does to civilizations. We decided to be better than our worst instincts. The room fell silent, the implications settling like lead. High Counselor Kirathos spoke, his ancient voice thoughtful. So when we attacked Titan Station, you were testing us, seeing if we could be reasoned with. Yes, Morrison confirmed. We used civilian vessels, gave you every chance to withdraw. When you attacked anyway, we defended, but even then, we did not deploy the Titans. We used conventional forces, gave you another chance. And when we came with our full fleet, still conventional forces, still giving you opportunities to reconsider. Emperor, we have 12 Titans. Each one could have ended your invasion in minutes. We chose not to use them because we do not want to be conquerors. We want to be guardians. Zorathor stood, his massive frame towering, but his posture was different now. Not aggressive, considering. Why tell us this? Why reveal your greatest weapons? Morrison met his eyes, steady, honest. Because secrets breed fear. Fear breeds conflict. I am showing you our strength so you understand you cannot win militarily, but also showing you our restraint so you understand we do not want war. We want cooperation, partnership, peace. He pulled up a final display. Data, economic projections, scientific exchanges, treaties. 27 other species have encountered humanity. 17 chose cooperation. Their economies grew, their technology advanced, their people prospered. 10 chose conflict. The display showed the results. Species that had attacked humans, all defeated, most extinct. The choice is yours, Emperor. Join us, learn from us, share with us, or remain enemies and watch your empire slowly crumble under the weight of its own obsolescence. Zorathor turned away, walked to the great window overlooking his capital city. Monuments to conquest, proof of Krillian dominance, all rendered meaningless by one species that refused to stay weak. You asked me to surrender our pride, Zorathor said quietly, not looking back. I ask you to choose survival over pride, Morrison replied. There is no shame in that choice, only wisdom. Long silence. The Emperor staring out at his world, his empire, his legacy. Finally, he turned back. I will consult with my council. We will debate. We will decide. But Admiral Morrison, if we choose peace, if we accept your offer, what are your terms? Morrison pulled up a prepared document, professional, detailed, fair. Withdraw from all 63 conquered worlds. Return them to their original inhabitants. Dismantle 75% of your war fleet. Keep enough for defense, but not conquest. Accept human observers to ensure compliance. Accept human educators to share knowledge. In return, we share medical technology, clean energy, agricultural advances, scientific discovery. We help rebuild what war destroyed. We turn enemies into allies. And if we refuse, Morrison's expression hardened, then we leave. We return home. We never attack you first. But if you ever threaten human worlds again, if you ever attempt conquest near our space, the Titans will come, and you will learn what total war truly means. The truth of it hung in the air, not a threat, a promise. Zorathar looked at High Counselor Karathos. The ancient Krillian nodded slowly. Wisdom accumulated over 9 centuries, saying this was right, necessary, inevitable. I will present your terms to the High Council, Zorathar said. We vote in 1 week. Until then, you have diplomatic immunity, safety guaranteed. Morrison bowed slightly, respectful. Thank you, Emperor. That is all we ask. A fair hearing. The High Council convened, 30 of the most powerful Krillians, representing military, commerce, science, culture, all aspects of the empire. The debate raged for 14 hours, hardliners arguing for continued resistance, moderates pointing to reality. Numbers, casualties, the mathematical impossibility of victory. Lieutenant Saris testified, describing human prisoner treatment, medical care, respect. She spoke of conversations with human guards, learning about their history, their values, their genuine desire for peace. Commander Drexthar testified, describing the battles, the tactical superiority, the technological advantage, the strategic thinking that outmaneuvered every Krillian response. High Counselor Kirathos spoke last, his ancient voice carrying weight. I have lived 920 years. I have advised 5 emperors. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. And I tell you this, the humans offer us something precious, something rare, the chance to survive our own pride, the chance to learn, the chance to be part of something greater than conquest. We should accept. The vote was called, holographic displays showing each council member's decision. 9 voted to accept the treaty, 6 voted to reject it. Not unanimous, not even close, but enough. The treaty passed. Zorathar stood, his 4 eyes showing emotion for the first time. Relief, regret, resignation, hope. The Krillian Empire accepts the human terms. We will withdraw from conquered worlds, dismantle our war fleet, accept observers and educators, and we will learn. We will change. We will survive. He looked at Morrison, the human admiral, standing at the back of the chamber. Admiral Morrison, you have defeated the Krillian Empire, not with weapons, with wisdom. I do not like this, but I respect it. Morrison stepped forward. Emperor, you made the hardest choice a leader can make. You chose your people's future over your own pride. That takes more courage than any battle. A small diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, breaking through clouds, revealing the blue-green world below. Continents, oceans, the cradle of humanity. Ambassador Saris sat in the passenger compartment, no longer lieutenant, now ambassador, appointed by Emperor Zorathar to represent Krillian interests on Earth, to learn, to bridge the gap between 2 civilizations. The shuttle landed at a secure facility, military installation in the mountains, snow-capped peaks surrounding a valley. Admiral Morrison waited at the landing pad, white hair, weathered face, gray eyes warm with welcome. Ambassador Saris, welcome to Earth. Saris stepped off the shuttle, breathing Earth air for the first time. Oxygen-rich, clean. Admiral, thank you for having me. Morrison gestured toward a path. Come, there is something I want to show you. They walked together, past military installations, past laboratories, past training grounds where human soldiers drilled with quiet competence. They stopped at a memorial. Black stone, names carved into it, thousands of names, tens of thousands. What is this? Saris asked. These are the humans who died preparing for the day you found us. 300 years of space exploration, accidents, test flights, engineering failures. Every person who sacrificed so that humanity would be ready when first contact came. Morrison's hand traced over some of the names. 12,407 people. Engineers who died testing the Titans. Scientists killed in experimental weapon research. Soldiers who volunteered for dangerous training. All of them knew the risks. All of them chose to serve anyway. Was Saris felt something heavy settle in her chest. Understanding, respect, sorrow. 12,000 to save trillions, she whispered. Yes, every person here volunteered. They knew they might die. They did it anyway because they believed in protecting what they loved. They stood in silence for a moment, two warriors from different worlds, united by respect for sacrifice. Commander Garrick Thorne approached. Admiral, Ambassador, the transport is ready. They walked to a landing pad where a larger shuttle waited. Where are we going? Saris asked. Morrison smiled, small. To see the future. The shuttle lifted off, rising through the atmosphere, breaking through into the black of space. Earth fell away below. Beautiful, fragile, home to billions. And above, in perfect orbit, 12 massive shapes hung against the stars, the Titans. Saris stared, her four violet eyes wide. She had seen images, read reports, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Each Titan was enormous, 5 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide, black holes that seemed to absorb light itself, angular, geometric. They have been here for 47,000 years, Morrison said quietly, waiting, silent, patient. The architects built them to save the galaxy. They succeeded. Then they died, leaving these weapons behind, empty, dormant, until we found them. The shuttle approached the nearest Titan, its massive bulk filling the viewport. We activate them only when absolutely necessary, Morrison continued. They consume enormous energy, require constant maintenance, but they remain ready, always ready, because we learned the lesson the architects taught. Peace requires strength, but strength requires restraint. Saris looked at Morrison, this human who could have conquered the galaxy, who chose not to. Admiral, why show me this? Why reveal your greatest secret? Morrison met her eyes, honest, open. Because secrets create fear. And fear prevents understanding. I want you to understand that humanity has the power to dominate, but chooses not to. We want partners, equals, friends, not subjects. The shuttle turned, heading back toward Earth. Saris watched the Titans recede. Silent guardians. The strongest thing in the universe, she said softly, is not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to choose not to. Morrison smiled. Commander Thorne said you would understand. He was right. They descended back to Earth. Saris saw it differently now, not as a threat, as a school, a place where beings trained not to conquer, but to protect. Morrison walked to a window, looked out at the mountains, the forests, the beauty of Earth. I am 58 years old. I have spent 32 years in military service. I have seen war, commanded battles, ordered actions that killed thousands. I am tired of it. I want to spend my remaining year building instead of destroying. He turned back to Saris. Your Emperor Zorathar is 750 years old. He has spent 600 years in conquest. Imagine what he could build with that experience if he chose construction over destruction. Imagine what your empire could become if you turned all that strength toward cooperation. Saris felt something shift inside her, a perspective changing. You truly believe this can work? I have to believe it. The alternative is too terrible to contemplate. They stood together, looking out at Earth, at the stars beyond, at a future uncertain but hopeful. Morrison looked at Saris. This young Krillian, who had been a soldier, became a prisoner, now transformed into a bridge between civilizations. Ambassador Saris, your empire does not owe us a debt. We owe each other. The debt of choosing to be better than our worst instincts, of choosing to survive together rather than die separately. That is the only debt that matters. Above them, invisible in daylight but ever present. The Titans maintained their silent vigil. 12 ancient weapons, built by a dead civilization, maintained by a wise one, protecting not through use, but through the promise of use, through the deterrent of overwhelming force tempered by overwhelming restraint. The galaxy had learned, finally, painfully, at terrible cost. Do not attack the humans, not because they are strong, but because they understand exactly what their strength means. And they choose every day to use it only when absolutely necessary, to reduce their enemies not to ashes and regret, but to allies and understanding. That was true power. That was wisdom. That was the future. And in a small room on a blue-green world, two warriors from different stars, different species, different histories, stood together, looking at that future, choosing hope over fear, choosing life.